Hi, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed those videos from Jack Hartman about the clock. So you heard in the songs, in the videos about the analog and the digital clock. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at an analog and digital clock so that we can read the time on the hour. So let's read this together. I will look at an analog and digital clock so I can read the time on the hour. So here we have a picture of an analog clock here, and then we have a picture of a digital clock here. So let's talk about the analog clock. You probably have one of these clocks somewhere in your home, or if you don't, maybe you have a digital clock in your home. But we're going to talk about the analog clock first. Okay, so on an analog clock, we have a shorthand and on an analog clock, and the shorthand is called the hour hand. That's this blue hand right here. Okay, the number that it points to stands for the hour. The long hand, which is also known as the minute hand, this red one here, it's called the minute hand. That points to the number for the number of minutes. Okay, so starting with 1, each number equals 5 minutes. When the minute hand point, this right here, when it points to the number 6 right here, it means 30 because we count starting here. We go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 30, but we'll talk more about that in our lesson for past the hour. This is just on the hour, so we'll go into more detail on that one on our next lesson. So when the minute hand gets up to the number 12, and this is where the minute hand is right now, that means 60 minutes have passed. 60 minutes equals 1 hour. The minutes then start again over at 0. It starts at 0, then at 5, 10, and so on. And like I said, we'll discuss that more in our next lesson. Another hand on an analog clock is called the second hand. It's narrower than the other two hands. We don't see it here, but it just ticks around. You might see another little hand that's skinnier, and it just keeps ticking around, and it keeps going around. It points to the it stands for the seconds on the clock, starting with the number 1. Each number equals 5 seconds. So from here to here, that's 5 seconds. You don't see that here, but if you do have an analog clock in your home, you're going to see the minute hand, which is the long hand, the hour hand that points to the hour, it's a shorter hand, and then you're going to see this little skinny hand that just keeps moving, ticking, and it ticks every second, and it ticks all around that way. So now let's talk about the digital clock. The digital clock also shows the time, but if you notice, it doesn't have hands like this one, and it doesn't have what they call a face. This is called a face on an analog clock. Instead, it has a display with digital numbers. The numbers change as the time moves forward. So digital clocks have bright displays like this one here. It's a bright green. This makes it so that it's easy to read even in the dark. So many alarm clocks that you might have, I use my alarm clock on my phone, but before we had these smartphones, lots of us had digital clocks that sat right on our nightstand next to our bed, and it was in bright colors so that if we woke up in the middle of the night, we could look over and we could see what time it was. Because it's dark in your room, and then it would be hard to see if the numbers weren't bright. Many alarm clocks are digital clocks. So many people often need to share a specific time when making plans. So times can be written in 2 different ways. Sometimes people use words such as, if we read this together, it says 10 o'clock. Other times we might use the numbers, the numerals, such as 10, and then you have your right, just like this, 10, your colon right here, the two little dots, 0, 0, but they both mean the same time. They both mean 10 o'clock. When people give a time, they add the letters AM or PM. The letters AM stand for ante-meridiem. That is Latin for before midday. And then we also might use PM. The letters PM stand for post-meridiem. So if ante-meridiem means before midday, what do you think post-meridiem means? After midday, that's correct. Let's keep on going. So today what you're going to do is you're going to pick a special time of the day on the hour. So we're not going to choose 10:30 or 10:15 or 10:20. It's on the hour. So this would be where the minute hand would be straight up on the 12th, and your hour hand would be pointed to one of these numbers. So I want you to think about one of these times: 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12 o'clock. Pick a special time of the day, and it could be AM or it could be PM. So once you decide what time of the day on the hour, I want you to draw an analog and digital clock showing that time. And then you're going to tell me about that time. So I'm going to try and use the little drawing tool here. It's a little hard, but I'll show you. So you'll come up here, make sure you write your date, and then I'm going to draw an analog clock. Now, this little tool is kind of hard to use, so my analog clock might not be very good. Okay, so then that's my analog clock. Now I need to draw I would write my numbers, and I'm not going to do it all here for now, but I'll just show you what this might look like. So right here, I would do 12, and then I know that down here is, 6, and then I know here would be 3, about right here, and then I know over here would be 9, and I'm not going to do it all here because I don't want to take up your time, but then I'll go back in and fill in the rest of it with 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. So I'll draw my clock here, and this is my analog clock. Now I need to decide what special time of the day that's on the hour I want to choose. So I think I'm going to choose 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. So what I would do is I would go ahead and show that here. I'm going to draw my little line. So I know that my minute hand is going to be pointing straight up here. And I want to show 8 o'clock. I haven't filled this in with 8, but I know my 8 is going to be probably about right here. So I'm going to write in 8. And I'm going to fill in the rest of this. I'm not doing it right now. So now I need to show my minute hand, which is going to be here. I'm going to show my minute hand is going to be shorter, and I'm going to show it like that. And so this is going to show 8, and this is going to be 8 a.m. So I'm going to then underneath this, I still have to finish my clock, fill in all the rest of the numbers, but then after that I'm going to write here, I'm going to write 8 A.M. and a dot there. And I'm going to tell you why I chose this time. This is the time I see my students on a school day. On a school day. So I get to see you guys at 8 a.m. and that's why I chose that. So now remember, you're going to not only draw the analog clock showing this time, you're also going to draw the digital clock. So then I would come here and then also draw my digital clock. So, oops, that wasn't very straight, but let me try that again. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to change to black because I remember learning in the previous page that my time is going to be in bright colors. So I'm going to use a bright, maybe a bright orange, and I need to show 8 o'clock here. So I know it's going to be in bright colors, and if I go back to my I can see here how on a display, on a digital clock, how the time is displayed. So I'm going to go back, and maybe I'll just choose the green just like I had there, and I'm going to show 8. And this is where I will fill in here. And I'm going to use a bright right here. And I'm going to make this a little bigger. So it's going to say 8. Just like that. So this is my digital clock showing 8 a.m. And I did tell you here, this is the time I see my students on a school day. So now I have picked a special time of the day that's on the hour. I didn't say 8:15, I didn't say 8:30, it's on the hour. And I drew an analog clock and a digital clock. Then I told you, it says tell about the special time. So this is where I did that. So I'm going to come back over here and fix this. So this is where I tell, this is the time I see my students on a school day. So once you've done this, you're completely done. Now, I forgot to mention that before you complete this activity below, tells you here, you're going to go to your mailbox in Epic, and I want you to watch one more video for me. It's the number rock telling time to the hour and half hour video. It's important that when you go in there that you specifically pick this video here, the number rock telling time to the hour and half hour video. The other video that's in there is for the Wednesday assignment, so just make sure you choose the right one. So I've explained the activity, but before you do the activity, go to Epic and watch this number rock video, then come into your journal and complete this activity. If you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out, and I hope you have fun. See you next time.